Gonna wait like 2 minutes before we start, only because there was some technical difficulties on the other page. Good evening, everyone that is on. Good evening, good evening. We're gonna start in 1 more minute. I will play some music in the background, but Facebook, I'm playing with that today. We got some serious topics we're going to talk about and discuss. All right, we are going to go ahead and get started. I want to thank you on behalf of Liam's network of support for joining this live today. If you don't know, today is National Suicide Awareness Day. It is actually the entire month, but we are going to go live today to talk about what suicide is and how it affects our family, and some facts that you might not have known about suicide, and some of the things that we can do to be aware and to try to prevent it to those that we love or even ourselves. So we're going to dive into that. What I want to first do is let you know, you will see that there is a disclaimer. This content that we are talking about and the language that could be used, not cursing, but just some words may be a trigger to some people. If there's any descriptions that we get that could be distressing to you or as a trigger for some individuals, please take care of your own mental and emotional health first while engaging with this material and the things that we are talking about. If at any point in time you feel uncomfortable, if you feel overwhelmed, at any point, take a break, considering going off, seek any type of support, contact someone you trust, or you can always call 988 just to have someone to talk to at the time, or if you feel like you are being triggered too far. Please take care of yourself first. What I want to first do is acknowledge my board members who are part of Liam Network of Support. My Vice President, Jakasha Harris, I appreciate you. Vice President, thank you for everything that you have done thus far with Liam's Network of Support. The Treasurer, Malika Brenston Cox, appreciate you. Love you very much. Thank you. The Member at Large, Deborah Wilson Gaddy. Words cannot express my gratitude for you. Thank you for all that you guys do and the support and the works that have already been done and the big things that we have coming up with Liam's Network of Support. So now let's get right into it. Suicide. There's a lot of misconceptions and a lot of things that people assume that suicide is. Suicide is one of the leading causes of death now. And it's either caused by someone injuring themselves with the intent to die. And a suicide attempt is when someone tries to harm themselves either intentionally or unintentionally. And we're going to talk about what that is, because some may say, what do you mean unintentionally? How does somebody unintentionally unalive themselves? Well, we're going to talk about it. And when they're attempting to harm themselves with the intent to end their lives, sometimes they don't die because of their actions, because they are torn between what they want to do and what they're actually doing. And that's where suicidal ideations come in. And that is the thought of suicide. And there are many, many, many risk factors that come with suicide or that can be protected against suicide. And one of the things is connecting to other forms of injury or violence. For example, people who have experienced some sort of violence in their life, in their childhood, in adulthood, domestic violence, sexual assault, things of that nature. People don't want to live anymore. They feel like the world is on their shoulders. Nobody saw them. Nobody was there for them. So what is the point of them living anymore? Sometimes people say this out loud. Some people suffer in silence. So sometimes we have to look for those signs for those people that we care about and we love, because you see a lot of people at funerals, but you don't see a lot of people knocking on doors, sitting there with them as they're going through the pain. And some people put on a very, very good mask to cover themselves when dealing with internal battles that they don't talk about. And those are the things that hurt the loved ones most. And we'll talk about, how the effects of the family members or the loved ones as we go on, talking about suicide. What some people don't know, there are different classifications of suicide. And when they have a medical examiner come out for a body, for those that have actually transitioned and passed on, there are 3 different types of what can be considered suicide or undetermined. There is suicide itself, there's accidental death, and then there's undetermined death. And the reason they have it grouped into these 3 different categories is because sometimes it's difficult to identify why or what actually happened to a person. If you've ever seen where families get very upset because they're like, no, I know this didn't happen. No, I know someone did something. No, this could not have happened. Sometimes you just can't determine that. And sometimes there are signs that are left behind when you have investigators or medical examiners come in that we don't see. So it is very important to work with those individuals and those professionals to make sure, one, what happens. That can, one, give you a little bit of closure, and 2, it won't put you into an unhealthy space and make it a traumatic experience for you. Let's break down what those 3 are. As I already said, what suicide itself is, but looking at it a little bit closer of what that could be. Different methods of suicide can be use of firearm, people hanging themselves that actually went through with the suicide. They left a suicide note to say that they were going to harm themselves. When they are inspecting the body, meaning the medical examiners come in, they can see where there's any type of self-injuries on them. It could be cutting of the wrist, stabbing themselves in the throat, shooting themselves in the head, anything like that. Someone who has taken a large quantity of pills because they don't want to be here anymore. So they have taken over-the-counter pills. That's not illegal, something they can buy from the store, but anything taken or done in excess can be very harmful for you. And this is something that they're aware of and know. They have written material or have searched different things on the website, on their phones, when it comes to children, because the rate for children is rapidly going up when it comes to suicide and death because of bullying, feeling unloved at home. There's a number of different factors when it comes into children. That's a whole nother ballgame, but I am going to talk about it a little bit. With that number rising, please make sure you are aware of what your children are on, be it video games, because they are talking to people on there. Some people are in the same mindset that they're in, and you have no idea how they are talking into their head and getting them to kind of go through with what it is they're doing. And some kids, they think it's funny and will be like, oh, well, go ahead and do it. Go ahead and kill yourself. I've seen adults do that because they feel like, oh, you have to be strong. You have to be this person. Oh, you're weak. You're this. Oh, it's ridiculous because you don't know where somebody's mindset is. You don't know what they have going on. And if you're not going to help them, it is best to either be quiet or direct them to someone else, a family member, a loved one, a spouse, a sibling, child, depending on the age, direct them that way. Do not encourage these things to happen, because those words just might be all they need to take them over the edge, because you are proving how they already feel, that they're not wanted, they're not loved, and there's no purpose of them being here. So be mindful with that. So those are some things when it comes to actual suicide. Then there's accidental suicide. If there was a traumatic or non-traumatic event that caused the death to what would normally be a healthy individual, and this can be drug overdoses, which was accidental, but however they knew the risk of taking these drugs. They have asphyxiation, suffocating, and that can happen in a couple different ways. Things they know they're allergic to, but they eat it anyway. Things that if they're using drugs in a certain type of way and they've already had a reaction to it, but they do it anyway. There are, when you're driving a vehicular, you can be triggered while you are doing it, and you intentionally run into a pole. You intentionally run into a traffic full of cars. That is considered accidental, but it's still suicide, but it's an accidental suicide. If you are cleaning a weapon and you are in a dark space, people will point the weapon at them knowing that they still have something in the gauge, and will just be flicking at it as if they're playing Russian roulette with their life, because in their mind, that's what they're doing. If I'm meant to die, then I'll die. If not, then I'll live and wake up and try again the next day. Some people are in that headspace, and that is what they do. So that is some of the things for what's considered accidental suicide. Then there's the undetermined. And this is one that really set families into a frenzy. Because think about not knowing how your loved one died. You saw them bubbly and happy one minute, and then the next minute you get a phone call saying that they're no longer here. And some of those things could be drug-related death, where it was intent they were taking medicines, but they mixed medicines, not knowing the risk factors that these medicines caused death if they mix together. You have something that is, like, say they are out and they have a heat stroke, knowing that they already have health issues, but they're out pushing themselves anyway. Maybe they had an accident earlier in the year and they keep pushing themselves, knowing the risk of doing that. If they had major surgery and then 2 days later they're out trying to run a marathon, you know that you should be resting. You know that you should be doing this, but because you're in a bad mental space, you feel like you have to do something. So something like that can be considered undetermined. Some ways that they look at that to come up with undetermined, they take a toxology report. And the toxology report, it comes back inconclusive. There's nothing that can be done. They pump their stomachs. They look for other causes, but there's nothing that's there. There's nothing there, so it comes back undetermined. So that leaves a lot of families just kind of in the wind and get no closure. So when you have situations like that, when you have suicide, accidental, or undetermined, the medical examiners are going to contact the next of kin. However, what if people don't have a next of kin? What if the person you did have as your next of kin, say you've gotten a divorce, say you've, they passed away, they're just sitting there at the morgue. Nobody knows what happened. You are out on a search, and then you have Jane Doe that is sitting there, and it is one of your loved ones who has committed suicide, and you're still hoping that they're around. That causes trauma now to that family or to your family. So some of the things when you're looking at that, you want to take in consideration. That's why it's important, especially now in the world that we live in with all the things that's happening. I'm not going to go into politics, but politically that affects the world, how we embrace each other socially. I I'm gonna say something about this. We are in a world right now where when it comes to people's capacity just to make it day by day, they get overwhelmed by their homes, life, be it kids, family, whatever. They get overwhelmed by work. You work so hard, but then yet some people are struggling to pay their bills. So it's all different things that are constantly going on. And then you have people who, in their minds, I guess they have it all together. And then they're so judgmental. We are in a judgmental world right now. If you look at how the statistics are rising in suicide, you have to also look at what some people are putting out there. There are cries for help that people are giving you warning signs for, but you don't pay attention. But then we want to go to their funerals and be crying over them when you never showed up, when they needed you most. And some people can't say it for fear of judgment. Then they feel that'll really take them down a whole different path of a rabbit hole. So some of the things that you can look at when trying to help your family members, loved ones, as far as warning signs. Look at their change in behavior. But when you're looking at their change of behavior, be mindful of what it is that you're saying to them. If you are constantly saying what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong, they're probably not going to tell you because they're going to then turn and get frustrated. Instead, just do something. Hey, let's go out and do such and such. You don't want to go out? Can I come over and do this with you? If there's something you know they like to do, hey, I saw this paint and sip. Let's come and do this paint and sip with me. Or just simply picking up the phone daily and saying, hey, how are you? I haven't heard from you in a while. I haven't seen you out in a while, and I normally see you walking in the park. You okay? Do you need anything? You have no idea what a simple hello, what a simple how you're doing can save a person's life when they're in the thought of committing suicide at that moment. If you hear a person start talking about killing themselves, even if it's in a joking manner, there's always truth in a joke. So don't take it lightly. When people talk about feeling hopeless, talking about no one cares about them, no one loves them, pay attention to that. When people start having angry outbursts, pay attention to that. When people start talking about, I have no reason to live, people start talking about how overwhelmed they feel. When people start talking about pains in their body, because that's a real thing. Let me say this. When people start talking about pains in their body, they may start actually having those physical pains, but sometimes it is just where they carry the weight of the world. If a person starts talking about their throat, they literally have like a knot in their throat because they get scared to say anything. You know why? Because they're always silenced. So they feel like they have a knot in their throat. When they say they have a pain in their back, they're constantly working for other people and constantly being there for other people, but no one's there for them. So pay attention to those things too, especially if they talk about, oh no, I don't want to go to a doctor. Why don't you want to go to a doctor? Is there something really wrong? And then they do go to a doctor and the doctor can't find anything. And you say something has to be wrong. It is. It's just not an actual physical pain. It becomes a mental thing. So we got to work through that. When a person feels like being trapped, meaning like they're trapped in their lifestyle, they don't know what to do. They can't move forward. Every time they go a few steps forward, they feel like they're being pulled 20 steps back. Pay attention to that. Pay attention when a person says, I'm sorry, multiple times, knowing good and well they didn't do anything. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to upset you. I'm sorry if I was talking too loud. They're constantly saying, I'm sorry. Something has happened. They're going through something internally that they're constantly apologizing for something that they really haven't done. If a person talks about being a burden, I don't want to be a burden to you. I don't want to impose on, what you have going on, even though you invited them. You might have invited them to wherever it is you're going, but they don't feel comfortable or they see something that has triggered them. Pay attention to those things. When it comes to behaviors, if you see an increase in alcohol use, they may be social drinkers, but they go from social drinkers to mugshots, being somewhere because they're publicly intoxicated, and you know that that's not normal behavior. If they start doing things that could jeopardize things that they have worked hard for, if you see them looking for a way to end their lives, like I was saying, searching online or something like that, if they start withdrawing from activities or people without intent. Let me specify intent. The reason I say that is because some people do withdraw to work on their own personal healing. Some people do withdraw to work on building themselves up because they've gone through a certain stage in their life. There's nothing wrong with that. However, it's still something to pay attention to. Don't make assumptions. Don't do that. And we'll talk about that in a moment. When they are sleeping too much, I'm always tired. I'm always drained. I just got to stay sitting down. I don't want to get up and I don't want to do anything. If a person is constantly sleeping, there's something wrong. They're going to always say, oh, no, I'm fine. I'm just tired. Oh, I'm overwhelmed. If you are sleeping 20 hours out of the day and there's only 24 hours in the day, that's a red flag to yourself. If they're giving away some of their prized possessions, giving away or throwing it away, something that they have held on for a long time, and you walk in their house or, you see them a certain place and they no longer have that necklace that they treasured because that was a necklace of their mom. They don't want it anymore. Pay attention to those things. If they are visiting people, or they start to say goodbye to people. Now, I know my family, a lot of them, they're not going to even say goodbye when they hang up on the phone. So if someone says goodbye while I'm talking to them, that's a red flag for me. I'm probably going to call you back and say, what's wrong with you? You said goodbye. Well, I didn't mean to. Well, we need to have a conversation because I need to know what's going on. So be mindful of those type of things when people say goodbye, because people say, oh, bye, I'll see you later. But if you hear a person and you hear the change in their voice, talk about some, okay, bye, I love you so much, and they have not done that before, they might just be saying goodbye. So you want to look at that. If they become overly aggressive, when a person is overly aggressive and they have not been aggressive before, pay attention to that too, because those type of people, it's actually coming out and it's not them keeping it in. Per se, they are actually projecting it out on you until they have, in their mind, the courage to actually go through with it themselves. They have mood changes, depression, anxiety, loss of interest, irritability, feelings of humiliation, shame, easily agitated, angry, or they have a sudden sense of relief or, sudden improvement. That may look good. But for them, it's like, I've done everything that I needed to do on this earth. I can leave. I am satisfied. And that's something to look out for. I am not saying, before I move any further, I am not saying that everybody has to save the world and save everybody. But what I am saying is, if you see something in someone that you care about, please make sure that you reach out to that person. If you're not comfortable reaching out to that person, say something to someone that you know they love and may listen to. It is not always easy. You may get some backlash initially, but believe me, they will thank you later. They will thank you later. I know. We'll thank you later. I'm going to give you some statistical facts that come from the CDC and the National Safety Council. And when I give you these numbers, when I first saw this, let me tell you something. It was unbelievable because you know that there's, millions and millions of people in the world, but to think of the number of people that have died by suicide, intentional, undetermined, accidental, I'm going to tell you what these numbers are, and it will blow you away. 2024 full complete statistics are not out. However, 2023 statistics are. For intentional death, 72,918. Those are the number of people that intentionally committed suicide that was deemed intentional. 72,918 people intentionally killed themselves in 2023. Undetermined, 5,284. And this is all in the United States of America. 5,284 is the number of people that was deemed undetermined. Preventable, or what is considered accidental death, it still could potentially be by suicide. 222,698. 222,698 were the number of preventable or accidental deaths in the United States. So for 2023, that is over 300,000 people who died in one of those three categories that can be deemed or is suicide. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. And guess what? You don't hear about it as much. Why do you think you don't hear about it as much? Anybody know? I'm going to tell you anyway. So I'm glad you asked. Some people are shamed. My family is the strong family. We don't do things like that. They're just a weak link of the family. You are not helping that person any more in their death than you did in their life. You're not helping them at all. Or you have some people who are shamed because they feel like they didn't do enough. So they don't want to talk about it. And these are some of the effects of what can happen if a person that you loved or a person in your family has died by way of suicide in one of the three forms that we just talked about. Emotions can be high. Long after what's considered the bereavement period or the grieving period, which can go on forever, there is a ripple effect that affects families. It affects their emotional health, not just to them, but their community, the individual who actually had the loss. In general, suicide on average affects at least 5 family members to each person who died by way of suicide. And it's a larger number when it's a community. Understanding the impact on those that have left in wake of suicide or suicidal ideations, even when they attempted it, it didn't even go all the way through, is very important to get behavioral health professionals involved. We live in a world where there's a stigma that if you go to therapy, it's a problem, it's an issue. No, it is not. That is a chance for you to, one, take accountability, one, see yourself, remove the mask off of your face that a lot of people put on every day. A lot of people walk into work smiling, laughing, kikiing. They walk into rooms where they feel like, they have the full armor of God on, but inside that armor, they are eating themselves up. They are dying inside. That you have people who walk into business rooms who have all the business savvy in the world, who are so smart, so educated, but they have the weight of the world inside of them, and they don't know what to do. The way that affects your family when you have either tried to or have actually went forward with suicide or suicide attempts, it drives a wedge. It drives a wedge in the family. your children, if you have children, or if you have children who are like your children, they will see it. They will feel it. That's a different type of grief when you're physically looking at it. When you see somebody who is walking in grief, they're physically there, but mentally they have checked out. They have checked out. That causes you to try to sometimes push yourself upon them, constantly want to be around them, or then you get frustrated because you don't see them moving as fast as you would like them to, or doing the things that you would like them to. Everybody has different things that works for them, so you have to find what works for them. There's complicated grief in families as well, and it can be prolonged and an intense form of grief that can hinder how you mourn. Some people don't even accept that that's what happened at first. It may be 5-10 years later when the realization hits them that they actually took their lives. That's a long time to not grieve or mourn the loss of somebody that you love. And it's not too late to get help, but at that point they start to feel helpless themselves. So you really have to take a look at the mental health effects that happen when you're dealing with grieving with suicide. There are physical effects. Some people, and this can be in any type of death, really, I've seen this happen. People physically stop eating. They don't want to eat anymore. They feel like they can't sit at the dinner table because they don't hear that laugh anymore. They don't hear the jokes anymore. They don't see that smile anymore. And it does something to them. Then you have the vice that you have people that overeat and indulge because they don't want to feel the pain of the absence of someone that they love. And then it can also change the family dynamics. It can cause separation in the family. And that we kind of talked about and touched on a little bit already. For youth, it can affect their schoolwork. It can affect the way they socialize with others, because some of them, they no longer want to be friends with anybody because they don't want to lose anybody. They don't want to see that. And God forbid, oh my gosh, God forbid, it's something where a person committed suicide at home and a family member walks in and sees it. Do you know what that's going to do to a person's mental image, to constantly see someone that they love has taken their own lives? And then to, if you have the strength to do this, to either sit in there with the body or go outside and just be standing there mourning, waiting for someone to come. That is a difficult process. For some, it affects their spirituality or their religion. I've seen some people say, what God? What Jehovah? What Buddha? Whatever your religion is. Because they feel like they could have done something, meaning their higher power could have done something. So now they have resentment against their God, their Jehovah. There's resentment there. And they don't know how to deal with that. Sometimes some people reach out to the church to help them deal with that grief. For some, they don't get what they feel they need, and that draws them down into a deeper hole, because now they don't have a spiritual backing to how they feel as a coping mechanism. Because, again, some people, they don't want to do therapy. They have this fear of therapy, and, and there's nothing wrong with going the spiritual route. When I say spiritual route, meaning reaching out to a church, congregation, someone that you find is your spiritual person to help you understand. But if you don't get that fulfillment, it takes a turn for worse for you then too. You have your interventions, and then you have what I'm going to call post-ventions. Not a real word, but I'm going to use it. And it's making sure you have a support system. Making sure that you have people there who are not going to judge, allow you to speak on how you feel, speak on your emotions, not just at that time, but as they go on. That does not mean, put a pin in it, point. That does not mean we dump everything onto a person, because that is where professionals come from. That is where spiritual leaders come into play. Use the resources that you have. If you don't have any, find people, find organizations like Liam Network of Support who will be able to give you the resources that you need to work on addressing your healing, addressing how am I going to function day-to-day life without the physical presence of this person that I care so much about. So those are some of the things that I wanted to touch on to give you an overview of what suicide is. What can you do? I'm so glad you asked. Y'all so good out there. I'm so glad you asked me. If you or someone that you see is struggling, you see it on social media, you see it, it may be someone at work that you care about deeply. It may be a friend, whoever it may be. If talking to them does not work, some people don't want you talking to a family member because they're going to feel like you're in the business. Write them an email or a text message. Hey, this is what I see. I'm concerned. Please reach out to me. I don't want anything to happen to you. That's not giving an admission of this is what you're going to do. But what it is saying, I see you. I see you. For a lot of people, that's what they want. They want to be seen, not seen in the sense of, hey, put a sign on me, I need to be out. No. They want to be seen. They need their voice heard again. For whatever reason, whatever they've been through, however they're feeling, they don't have a voice. Let them know, I see you. I hear your silence. I see your pain. I see the things that you are going through. Hey, sis, love you, cuz. I see all of the things that are falling apart. I may not know it all, but no, I see you. People are going to be more likely to have a conversation with you, knowing that you see the things that they are not talking about. Silence is powerful. Now, I am going to say, sometimes some people, we just got to be silent. But when it comes to things that you see can be a potential harm to somebody, let them know that they're seen. I know I have even said to people, if I don't hear from you, and by this certain time, and some people on here, they know, I'm going to call your mama, I'm going to call your kids. I have even called 911 to do what is called a wellness check on somebody. They're going to ask you, do they live with anybody? Do they have such a thing? Yeah, they do live with somebody, or no, they don't live with somebody. You can have access to this. I gave them this time to call me. They will give you a number to call back. You can dial 911, and yes, they will do wellness checks on people that you do not hear from or you do not see. So there are things that you can do to let people know, I may not talk to you every single day, but I still see you. I see your hurt. I see your pain. I see that there is something that is off with you. Now, some people, they're not going to want you to do nothing. Some people, as long as you have a safe eye on them, we have to be okay with that. We have to know that we have done our due diligence to make sure that if nothing else, that person is safe. They have a safety net of support around them. They have people who know that I can call. Never, if your parents are living, never be ashamed to call your parents, depending on the relationship that you have with them. If you have friends that, you are close to, never be afraid to call them and say, hey, you got a second? My friends know if I say that, you might want to really pick up the phone because I got something going on I need to have a conversation with you about. and vice versa with them. And let me tell you, sometimes we self-sabotage. And that is something else that goes along with suicide. And I'm going to actually talk about this a little bit. I'm giving y'all 1 hour today, so I'm going to use this 1 hour. Sometimes we self-sabotage. Yeah, we do. Let me tell you what self-sabotaging is. How I talked about, laying in the bed all day, doing different things. Sometimes we self-sabotage our relationships because we don't want to hear the truth. We don't want to hear the truth about how we are killing ourselves. We don't want to hear the truth about the things that we are doing. We don't want to hear the truth. And then we get defensive. We get upset. If a person is coming to you and having a conversation with you, one, they love you because they could have kept their mouth shut and not said a word. Two, that's letting you know that they see you. But some people, you can't just directly say, I see you, because they're trying not to be seen. Some people you have to have different type of conversations with. So when you are working and you are self-sabotaging, you're intentionally, unknowing to you. And some of the things that when I'm saying self-sabotaging, sometimes you're not even aware that you're doing this. You're not even aware that you're doing it. But then you become so angry at everybody else and you blame everybody else. Everybody else is the problem. Everybody else is this. No, ma'am, no, sir, you're not. You are your own problem, because every time you look in the mirror, you see the mask that you have put on your face to show the world, because you don't want to dig down into the inner parts of you that is killing you. You divulge yourself into issues and things that are irrelevant, when all you got to do, and I can pull this out because when I'm sitting at my desk, I look at it every day. You got to look in the mirror. You got to look at this thing every day and be accountable to say, God gave me breath another day. I'm going to look in this mirror, remove this mask. I'm not going to be this clown. I'm not going to be this puppet that people are pulling, because some folks, you're people's puppets. And when I say puppets, if they have caused any trauma, any pain, or anything like that in your life, they are sleeping. And while they're sleeping, your strings are being pulled and they ain't got to do nothing. That's just like a person on Wall Street making millions of dollars while they're asleep. Only difference is you ain't making $1 million. You're dying on the inside. But it's the same thing. So do not self-sabotage yourself. And when you are self-sabotage yourself, some things that people do as well, they talk to convince themselves. They try to convince themselves, yes, I'm working on this. Yes, I'm doing that. You're only partially doing it. If you got to tell the world, when are you going to tell yourself? When are you going to tell yourself? There are so many people that's trying to find peace in this world, but they can't find peace, P-E-A-C-E, because they haven't even found the pieces that are broken in their life. So they can't get it back together, and you're not going to find all the pieces. And let me tell you this, you're not meant to find all the pieces, because some of the things that you have gone through in life, the reason you have gone through them is because it was necessary to build whatever your purpose is. However, you got to learn how to walk daily, knowing that these things have happened, but you can better yourself. You can extend a helping hand. You can build people their confidence. As Liam Network of Support says, reclaim your voice, pick up your mic. And that mic is not necessarily your voice, but it can be your silence, because sometimes you got to know when to shut up. Be quiet. Silence yourself. Because sometimes, and that's part of self-sabotaging, you can speak things into existence that was never there. It wasn't there to begin with, but you just talked your way into it. Oh, I don't like this job. This job is getting on my nerve, and this is that and other. Oh, this person, they did this to me. And then folks probably ain't done nothing to you, but because of what you are looking at, or what you appear to see, you might have removed that person that was a blessing that was in your life. They may not even know you was a blessing for real. But the two together just created this big thing. Let me tell you, I was at work today, and this kind of goes along with what I was saying, what I'm talking about. I had a kid that was using a pencil, and his pencil broke. And he said, Miss Monica, I can't write with my pencil. I was like, what are we going to do to get the pencil? He said, you got a sharpener? I said, no, I ain't got no sharpener. I don't even use a pencil. He said, then what do you use? I said, I use a pen. He said, well, you can't erase a pen. And you know, I had a light bulb go off. You can't erase the things that happen in your life, but one by one, you could put a line through it. You still see it. It's still there. But once that line is through it, you go on to the next. So whatever your to-do list is, whatever your routine is, don't self-sabotage yourself. Don't overlook anybody else's pain. Don't think that you are the Dr. Phil of the world or the person who's the know-all, see-all. Don't do that. None of us can fix everybody's problem. Everybody has something different that connects them. If you're not going to be a help, don't be a hindrance. Don't be that person that constantly takes the pen away from a person when they're trying to cross out the line of some of the traumas that they've had in their life. So be mindful of that. With that, I am going to wind down. Thank you, everybody who has come onto this live. You can share it, just watch the replay, any of those things. It will be up. If you need any additional support or need any help, Liam's network of support is not just in the state of Georgia. One, you can call 988. That is the National Suicide Hotline. So you can contact them for immediate support in your area. If you see an immediate emergency or you are going through a mental health crisis at this particular time, call 911. They will come out and you will have an assessment and, things that happen from there moving forward. If you are in the state of Georgia tomorrow and the 25th, Liam's Network of Support is having their group sessions. If you plan on attending tomorrow, please message me today because you have to fill out the registration form and you also have to fill out the confidentiality and disclaimer form. Due to an outpouring of children, I will be doing group sessions, not virtually yet, but group sessions in person for children ages 12 to 17 in Pelham. And let me give you the address, Pelham, Georgia. It is going to be at Hand Trading in the convention room in Pelham, Georgia at 107 West Railroad Street. The 11th and the 25th. For adults, it will start at 7 o'clock p.m. sharp. If you have not pre-registered, or if you have not sent me a message and I send you the link back to register, and then there will be a second one once you complete the first registration. There will be registration available there on site. My assistant, who is my mama, she's going to be there helping people register on site. But the doors will close at a certain time because we want to make sure people feel comfortable. We want to make sure people have an open space to be vulnerable and transparent. There will be no judgment. Let me repeat, there will be absolutely no judgment, and there will be absolutely no conversations about anything that anyone talks about inside of that room. Once we close those doors, once we close that session, mouths are to be closed on whatever anybody has gone through, because this will not be a place where people ever feel uncomfortable or people will ever have anything gossiped about them outside of those doors, because that happens way too much in our community, and we refuse to let that happen here. This is a safe space. This is for people to heal. This is for people to get their mental health together. Also, there will be a virtual session. I had to get that out first. There will also be a virtual session that will be held on the 18th of September. You do have the option of using an anonymous name. The only person that will know is myself. I will be the only person who physically knows who you are, because it's important that we register and get that information out. So I want to thank everybody for joining on. If you have any questions, you can definitely look on here. As soon as this live is over, I'm going to repost the flyer, both on my personal page and on Liam's Network of Support page. I will put them on there. And soon there will also be opportunities to do more. So please be on the lookout, because when I say things are coming down the pike, things are coming down the pike. 2026 ain't ready for the type of growth and healing that our community is going to go through, because it's going to happen. It's not a question. It's not an if. It has already been ordered, and the steps have been made, and we are just going to follow in the footsteps that have been made before us. With that said, everybody work on your healing. Everybody continue your journey. Work on your mental health. Stay safe. Much love to you all.